Hey everybody, welcome back to this Let's Play of Final Fantasy II for the PlayStation. I am Drak, and we got some Knight's Armor. That is awesome. And we're facing two Adamantilices. Again, the bosses are coming out in droves to try and stop us. But yeah, so, believe it or not, the Knight's Armor is actually a really good item, and you don't get to be able to purchase it until a little bit later. So we're going to go ahead and utilize this, probably give it to Therian or to Gus, whomever's defense is the lowest. But in the meantime, so yes, welcome back to the Final Fantasy II Let's Play. Last time, we actually spoke to the last of the Wind Drakes, or dragons in this game, and unfortunately she is dying. So she gave us her final task, which was, since we've already been in the Deist Cavern before to get a Dragoon's pendant, she would like us to take her last egg and take it all the way down to the bottom of the cavern and drop it off in their sacred spring, so it can be incubated, hopefully. And the Wind Drakes can have a chance at surviving. In the arms of the angel. Insert whatever you want here. I mean, it's silly, I know, but I always kind of look at this whole concept of, you're the last. And the first thing that comes up to me is, like, The Last Unicorn, the old animated movie. What? It's good! I'm not saying it's, like, my favorite thing ever, but my sister was a big fan of it. So, we grew up watching it. A lot. And it's not that bad, especially if you guys take into account that, you know, you had great voice actors at the time in there, including Christopher Effin Lee. You know, that guy who played Saruman? The guy who, like, was Dracula for the longest time? Yeah, he's awesome! And yeah, I actually found it funny that when they talked about doing a live-action version of this movie, which I didn't really see as happening, but just because the animation, the animated movie itself took a lot of risks. And I never saw them doing a remake, but they always rumored, we'll get Christopher Lee back, and he'll play his same role. He's getting older every year you promise that. Alright, we're seeing that we're checking out the defenses of everybody just to see what the Knight's Armor would do for people. That's actually a really big improvement, but it's slightly better for Therian. We also got the Flame Bow for Maria. That's going to be helpful, because now we have a bow that doesn't have a chance for, like, status ailments. Ooh, that was an attack increase. This also has a chance to do fire damage. So, awesome. Now we have that kind of going for us. And we're going to go ahead and teleport out, because this is, like, the one way you could go to the bottom, and there would be a ton of backtracking, so I'm not going to do that. Excuse me, guys. I'm a little bit sniffly today, plus I actually just barely got done eating lunch. So, if I clear my throat a lot, I apologize. And so now we're going to actually make our legitimate run down to the Sacred Spring, now that we've gotten as much loot as this area is going to offer. So yeah, that's kind of the goal right now. But like I was saying before, you know, people keep making this promise, we're going to do The Last Unicorn, and we're going to bring Christopher Lee back as the same role he was. Okay, Christopher Lee's pretty freaking old now. I mean, like, I think he's in his 80s or 90s. Maybe even older than that right now. I remember seeing, like, the extended Hobbit where they did all the appendices, and he looks like he is really getting up in years. Like, he literally couldn't leave London. They had to do his filming there. So, and appropriate, you know, like, I know a lot of people were knocking him, said, dude, he's in a chair most of the time, or he's standing. I'm sure the guy doesn't have much energy for much else. So the fact that you got Christopher Lee coming back into this movie, be thankful for that. Especially, I'm not entirely sure, like, I'm trying to remember right off the top of my head if Saruman actually is in the book. And I don't think he is, but I think they really did this as kind of a tribute to bring him back, because who knows, this might be his actual legitimate final role in his life. And given that this guy was such a hardcore Lord of the Rings fan, you couldn't not bring him in. He needed to be a part of this. You know, I still remember, like, I think it was the Fellowship appendices that introduced him that said, you know, he was, like, reading, every year he read The Lord of the Rings. That's dedicated geekdom right there. So, at that point, yeah, I think he's more than earned his spot in The Hobbit. And to come back and play Saruman, because who knows, that might be his last role. But that's my opinion, so... and we digressed a lot from Last Unicorn. Wow. That was like the most random thing I could think of today. What's good, what's interesting is that the music in that movie was actually pretty good. I still have a couple of tracks today. From America. I think it's America was the band who did a lot of the major music in it. And we are taking on more Hill Gygases, and I'm not taking any chances. We're gonna put some shields on people, because... Oh, wow, Gus, come on, 2 HP! Okay, well, at least Maria took him out. And I'm gonna be laughing later on in the game when like, literally Gus can kill them in one strike. Like, I thought these guys were horde. Okay, so now we are making our way deeper into Deist Cavern. And I'm just checking the map to make sure I'm going the right way, because when the path forks, you can easily get lost and go the wrong way, and then I have to teleport back out, and it's going to be a pain. A major pain. Oh, look, 6 howlers. I'm telling you, you know, they're going to keep casting Fire 5 on everybody. If they cast it on one person, they might actually be a threat. But they're never going to do it, so I'm not worried about it. Oh, look at that! Nice, Maria! 200 from that flame bow. I am very happy I picked that thing up. So while we are making our way down, you know, again, one of the questions that I get often a lot is, you know, what are you currently playing? What has caught your eye? What hasn't? I've talked a little bit here and there, and I'm actually going to do kind of a follow-up on some of them. For example, Legend of Zelda, I actually just got to, like, a major plot point. I think I'm about 80% through the game now. And I'm loving it. I love the whole cutscene that I just actually went through. It really kind of sets the stakes of what needs to happen in this game. Like I said, the only problem that I'm having with it is the motion controls, especially in the last boss fight that I just did. The boss fight in the Fire Sanctuary just pissed me off, because it just didn't feel like it was well constructed for that given boss fight. They could have come up with something a ton better and probably more of a fire-themed enemy. Like, for example, you could have brought back Volvagia, and that's one of the things that's interesting to me. They don't bring back Volvagia that much. Volvagia was in Adventure of Link, and then he basically skipped a game, went into Ocarina of Time. I don't think the handhelds have ever brought him back. But yeah, we've had like 6 or 7 incarnations of Goma in this game series. Volvagia's a cool element. He's a dragon. You know? What better way to have Link go through than to slay the freaking dragon? And they don't use him that much. In fact, you know, this is a 2010 game. You know what? I'm going to spoil it. If people want to get mad at me, they can. It's basically this character Garahim that we've been slowly getting introduced to. Like, he was the guy in the first dungeon who would catch your sword and wasn't really afraid of you. This time we got to face round 2 of him, and then they put in the dinkiest mechanic to try and get you to slice properly, which didn't even work half the time. You know, like, all the stuff that I was reading on, because I got so frustrated, yes, I looked up YouTube videos and all that, where you have to kind of watch his hand, and then you have to do the opposite of where his hand is. No, he'd still catch it. He'd still catch the sword, and then I'd be screwed. I actually kind of had to sit there and do chip damage to him to get to the second round, so that I can keep moving forward. Thankfully, I got him down in 1 life, but that was just a pain in the butt. So I'm not complimenting that boss. Some of the other bosses in the game have been pretty freaking cool, but some of them have been really weak. But in the meantime, that's where I'm at in Zelda. I am enjoying it still. Even though the gameplay is really hard to get through, I've said it before on Drak and Shadow in here, I will endure the crappiest of gameplay as long as the story is there. As long as the story is good and consistent and makes sense, I'll do it. Same thing goes for Zelda. I may not, like, as far as overall gameplay is concerned, this may not be, like, one of my absolute favorites, but it's still up there. Just because the story is really, really good, and according to the official Zelda timeline, this is the origin story of all the Zelda games. And it makes sense. It works in that regard. So I'm loving it. Another game that I've been really just digging the heck out of, and I haven't talked about it for a while, is Assassin's Creed 3. While my phone goes off. Seriously, let's play first, guys. But yeah, Assassin's Creed 3 I have been really enjoying because I just barely got my Assassin's uniform, and we skipped ahead a couple of years, so now that Connor is an adult. But I love the whole concept that Ubisoft, I think, just wants to interject the Assassins and the Templars in as many areas as they can, historically. So, like, for example, and this game's pretty old, guys, so I'm gonna kind of go into some of it, just because it's historical events, and I'm laughing at the hilarious part of it. So, it just so happens that a lot of the assassin contacts in this game are the Sons of Liberty, so you were working with Benjamin Franklin as Haytham. I haven't really come across him as Connor, but I'm guessing he's probably there. That's been kind of disappointing. I would have loved it if Benjamin Franklin was making some of the Assassin's gadgets, like Leonardo da Vinci in 2. The other one is Sam Adams, and I love the fact that Sam Adams is an Assassin's contact, because it's like, yes, this makes so much sense with the Sons of Liberty. But yeah, onto the historical events. So I've had a couple of missions here where basically they've said, oh yeah, Connor was involved in the Boston Tea Party. Yes, you had to protect. I can't remember the other guy's name, but I think the other was Paul Revere. You had to protect them while they were dumping tea into the harbor. And when nobody was coming in waves, you had to kind of start dumping tea yourself so you could get the mission done. So I was giggling at that. The other one was they cut to the Continental Congress. Connor was a part of the Continental Congress. I was laughing my butt off. I was just like, okay, this can't be accurate, but it's so awesome that they did it. It's absolutely hilarious that they decided to do it that way. And they also, they just so happen to paint that the Assassins and the Templars are everywhere. And it just so happens that right behind him is Charles Lee, who is the up-and-coming Templar from the Haytham segment. And I gotta say, I am loving hating Charles Lee. Especially since that they did this little kid cutscene where little Connor is introduced to him, and Charles Lee was not a bad person in the Haytham storyline. He was painted really, really well. And then you get into the Connor storyline, and he is a dick. He's an absolute... Pardon my French, guys. He was an absolute pain in the butt. He was a jerk. And so it's awesome to have Connor just look at him and go, "What's your name?" "Charles Lee." "Why do you need to know?" "So I can find you." And it just so happens that at the Continental Congress, here is Connor, and literally, like, a table behind him is Charles Lee. And Charles still doesn't know who he is. So yeah, I was laughing my butt off at that. I also laughed at the fact that Connor actually accompanied Paul Revere on his historic ride. Apparently Paul Revere could not use the horse himself. He needed Connor. Connor, epic assassin, cab driver. I don't know what else to say on the matter. It was just absolutely hilarious, and then you had to play the whole game of, you have to find the proper house, and of course you have to make this a game, so there has to be obstacles. Oh no, some of these houses have been compromised by the British. Yeah. The other one I want to talk about is, let's see, the Continental Congress. There was another, Bunker Hill. You actually took part in the Battle of Bunker Hill. You were actually the one to take out the what was it, John Pitcairn, the leader of the British there. And, I don't even think that's right, but, I'll have to check a history book on that. The part I loved is that you met up with the general there, and his name escapes me, and he is just... I'm sorry, they made him like the biggest John Wayne allegory for the 1700s I could ever think of. I could almost imagine the whole Linkara quote that occasionally he does, where it's like, "You magnificent SOB, I read your book!" And I could totally see this guy doing it, because he had the cigar in his mouth. I mean, he was freaking MacArthur. It was hilarious, especially with the fact that he was constantly making fun of Connor's, in his opinion, quote, stupidity. And then Connor would go and do this impossible task in his favor, and then he just insults him even more. And I love the fact that, like, at the final one, Connor's just had it, and he just looks at him and goes, "I'm going to expect an apology by the time I return." And he still didn't get one. It was absolutely hilarious. Overall, I am just enjoying the heck out of this game. Why? Because it's taking its own liberties with historical events, and I want history to be accurate. In the Assassin's Creed games, I'm willing to have that suspension of disbelief, because they're already giving you this fictitious machine that can actually says that humans have genetic memory, which is, scientifically proven wrong. And so I'm willing to have a little bit of levity here, especially when you take some historical figures and you have these hilarious moments with them. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci, perfect example of this, because the guy was freaking awkward in them, and then you put him with Ezio, who is just the social butterfly. It was hilarious. I especially like in 2, where you had the tour, you got the tour of, I think it was Venice. You got the tour of Venezia, and you just see this crime and all that going on. And in the meantime, you have Leonardo and Ezio just kind of looking at each other going, "Oh boy, what have we gotten ourselves into? Oh no, this is not going to end well." And you have kind of these same moments with Achilles and Connor. Uh-oh, looks like Gus died. Wow, you can tell I care about my party, right? Oh, it's okay. Well, we're bringing him back. But yes, I am enjoying the heck out of Assassin's Creed 3. I do not know the problem that a lot of people had with it. The Haytham segment was not that long. Another beef I've heard was the ship sequences, where you actually get to drive a ship. I didn't mind that. I thought it was fun, to be perfectly honest. It's unique, and it doesn't necessarily handle as well as it should, but it's not bad. It's not horrible by any stretch. I mean, I would say a lot of the, quote, multiplayer aspects that they added in the Ezio games worked more poorly than this. So I'm not against this game taking a few liberties here and there. I mean, it already has with the fact that, you can actually go out and hunt. Or the way that they tried to make the assembling of the house harder in this game, where you actually have to negotiate for stuff to come out to the house so you can repair it. I'll be honest, I haven't really done a whole lot of that. I was willing to do it in 2 just because it was as easy as earning money. Okay, earn money, earn a buttload of money, and then go spend it. That's how easy it was. In this one, it's not so much, and I'm really just kind of a story-driven guy. Oh, look at that. I actually got some Titan's gloves. These are items that are going to come in a little later as well. You'll be able to purchase them, but the added advantage of them is that they're gloves that boost your defense, but they also boost your attack. That's a great thing. So, put the Titan gloves on Gus, because obviously he needs every little bit of attack power he can get. I'm trying to think of other games that I've been playing that have just wowed me as much as... Because Zelda's cutscene wowed me really well, and then Assassin's Creed 3 has just been making me outright laugh at some points. Because I'm like, oh yes, because Connor was part of the Continental Congress. That makes sense. Oh noes, we're going to get blinded. Whatever shall we do? I don't know. Oh, and so another game I've actually been taking up, a question that I get along with the, what are you currently playing? The other one is, we get it, you play a lot of old games, you have this big stack of games. Have you played anything new? Well, it just so happens I have. I played 2 new games, actually, out of rotation. One of which was Broken Age. I picked up the Kickstarter-funded Tim Schafer project, Broken Age. And I don't hate it. It's good for a point-and-click adventure. I'm just kind of miffed at him for having a $3 million budget, and he not wasted it, but he's out of money. So he's putting out the first act in order to get more funds so he can put out Act 2 for Broken Age. And I get why, but it irritates me a little bit where he could have saved some money and maybe not put a contract on, say, Elijah Wood or Jack Black if he couldn't afford them. And that's what I think the problem is here, is that those are 2 high-priced actors to bring into your project. And if you only had $3 million from the Kickstarter, maybe you should have gone with some lesser-known talent, which it looks like for the majority of the rest of the cast, you kind of did. And that was a good idea. I don't know why you went this route of... Maybe it's just because Jack is a buddy of Tim Schafer. I don't know. That's my only beef with it. It was a good adventure game. It had a great and compelling story. I can't wait for Act 2. It irks me a little bit that he had $3 million and it's gone. At least from what I have read. The budget is gone and now he needs the money to finish it. Then at that point I would probably say, okay, do your Kickstarter, but put somebody else in charge of the funds, please. I love Tim Schafer. Don't get me wrong. I'm just a little irritated that's what this came down to. Another game, and again, I recommend it wholeheartedly. Go out and play it, guys, because I would love to see Act 2 of this thing, and I would love to see Tim Schafer and Double Fine do more work. Please, because point-and-click adventures making their slow return is a great thing to me. The other one actually is a point-and-click adventure from Telltale, and I finally picked up The Wolf Among Us. I've actually gotten a lot of flack because I have not picked up Telltale's The Walking Dead series. I have no intention. I'm so done with zombies. Okay, and I'm actually going to pause this dialogue a little bit. So people can see right there we have a new boss coming up, and it looks like a chimera who's guarding the Sacred Spring. So we're finally down here. We have this chimera to worry about, but he's going to be a pain in the butt. I literally get attacked right as I get to him. And I don't know. I may have to go into The Wolf Among Us next part, but I am enjoying the living heck out of that. It's really good. And if this is what they did with Walking Dead, good on you, Telltale. I have no problem with this, but I still want to see, classic things like Sam and Max still get more seasons if you can make that work. Or do another season of Monkey Island. I have no problem with that. Jane Jensen is coming back with a remake of Gabriel Knight, Sins of the Father. Sins of the Fathers. And then she's also doing her own project, Mobius. And there's also rumors that she's trying to get funds to do Gabriel Knight 4. I want a return of the point-and-click adventure games because I think a lot of people in this generation would enjoy it. Sure, they're short games, but their storytelling is really great. It's one of the things that I miss about the fact LucasArts is gone now. Yeah, sure, Ron Gilbert and Tim Schafer weren't working with them for a long time now, but, LucasArts put out a bunch of really great and quality adventure games back in the day, and Disney's never going to bring them back. Disney's not going to, work out the deal to put Monkey Island in Disney Infinity. They're not going to do it. It's not in their best interest. So I do want to see a return of this, and if Double Fine or Telltale's the way, then let's do it. Especially since they're doing good jobs. I haven't seen Walking Dead, but if Wolf Among Us is any indication, then good on ya. It works. I have no problem with the way the Wolf Among Us was done, and I'll go into more detail next part, but If Walking Dead was done in the same way, great. Let's keep going down that direction. No. We have to use a little bit of magic here. Cheer everybody up. Okay, and then next week, I know I'm trolling you a little bit, guys, but next week we will take care of the Chimera and finally complete the task of dropping off the egg in the sacred